Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the golden sunlight bathed the room, a silent anxiety crept upon the bedroom. The air was thick with anticipation, marked only by the faint flickering of shadows across the wooden floor. In the quiet, a figure stands, their heart racing and palms sweating. A young man, unfamiliar in this home, hesitates with a quiver. He reaches for the closet, a sanctuary of garments that betray his temporary stay. This was not his intended residence. Fate had led him to his sister's home, a bastion of order and generosity amidst his search for stability. Everything hung in perfect color coordination, blacks and grays for work, brighter colors for casual wear. And there, hanging on the far right, the blue summer dress with white polka dots that had caught Reed's eye weeks ago. "Just this once," Reed whispered to the empty room, reaching out to touch the fabric. The material felt cool and smooth between fingers, surprisingly substantial despite its flowing appearance. Reed had admired it when Catherine wore it to the family barbecue last month. The way it moved, how it seemed to embody a kind of freedom. The brown hair that Reed kept neatly trimmed in a professional cut fell across his forehead as he carefully removed the dress from its hanger. The navy blue button-down shirt and khaki pants he wore suddenly felt stiff, constraining. With each heartbeat echoing in his ears, Reed set the dress carefully on the bed. Minutes later, standing before the full-length mirror in Catherine's room, everything changed. The dress fit surprisingly well, hugging the waist before flaring out just above the knees. The polka dots caught the light as the fabric shifted with each small movement. Reed stared at the reflection, mesmerized by the transformation. "Willa," came the whisper, so soft it might have been the breeze through the partially open window. The name felt right, settling comfortably like it had been waiting to be spoken all along. Turning slightly, watching how the dress swayed, Willa, felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. This wasn't just curiosity. This was recognition. The person in the mirror wasn't a man in a dress. It was her true self, finally visible. The sound of a car door slamming outside shattered the moment. Catherine wasn't due home for hours, but panic surged nonetheless. Willa quickly changed back into the navy shirt and khakis, hanging the dress exactly as she'd found it, heart racing for entirely different reasons now. That night, lying awake in bed, the memory of those brief moments kept returning. The way the fabric felt against skin, the rightness of it all. Willa. The name echoed in her mind, impossible to dismiss. 3 days later, when Catherine mentioned a weekend conference in Chicago, the opportunity presented itself. "You'll have the house to yourself for 3 days," Catherine said, packing her suitcase. "Try not to burn the place down." "I think I can manage," Reed replied, already planning. The moment Catherine's car disappeared down the street Friday evening, Reed went online. 2 hours later, packages were ordered. Dresses, blouses, skirts, all chosen with careful consideration. Express shipping would bring them tomorrow. Saturday morning arrived with the promised deliveries. Hands shaking with anticipation, Reed carried the unmarked boxes to the bedroom. Each item emerged from its packaging like a revelation. A teal blouse with delicate pearl buttons, a black pencil skirt, a burgundy A-line dress. Standing before the mirror in the teal blouse and black skirt, something settled in Reed's chest. With each article of clothing, the disconnect that had shadowed life for so long began to dissolve. This wasn't just trying on clothes, this was trying on truth. "Willa," she said aloud, watching her lips form the name in the mirror. "My name is Willa." By Sunday evening, Willa had tried every new item, taken dozens of photos to see herself from every angle, and made a decision. When Catherine returned on Monday, Reed would be there to greet her, navy shirt and khakis in place. But beneath that necessary disguise, Willa would remain, growing stronger, more certain. The weeks that followed established a pattern. During Catherine's hospital shifts, Willa emerged, growing more confident each time. A hidden collection of clothing accumulated, carefully stored in locked suitcases under the bed. Online makeup tutorials became nightly study sessions, skills improving gradually through practice. 2 months after that first afternoon with the blue polka dot dress, Willa sat at the small desk in her room, composing an email to a therapist specializing in gender identity. The consultation was scheduled for the following week. "I can't keep living half a life," Willa whispered to the empty house, the therapist, Dr. Eleanor Chen had kind eyes and an office filled with plants. "Tell me about when you first recognized yourself," she said during their second session. "It was a blue dress with white polka dots," Willa replied, still dressed as Reed in the navy button-down that had become almost like a uniform. "But I think I've always known something wasn't aligned. I just didn't have the language for it." Dr. Chen nodded. "Many people describe it exactly that way." 6 months of therapy provided clarity and direction. Willa began researching her options, making plans. The apartment hunt resumed with new purpose, a fresh start, a place where Willa could live openly. The conversation with Catherine couldn't be delayed any longer. On a rare evening when both were home, Reed, still presenting as male in the familiar navy shirt and khakis, asked to talk. "There's something I need to tell you," Reed began, hands clasped tightly together. Catherine set down her medical journal, giving her full attention. "Is everything okay? You've seemed different lately. Happier, actually." A deep breath. "I'm transgender. I've been working with a therapist and I'm planning to transition. My name is Willa." The silence that followed stretched only a few seconds but felt eternal. "Willa," Catherine repeated softly. "It suits you." She reached across the table, covering Willa's trembling hands with her own. "Thank you for trusting me with this." "You're not surprised?" Catherine smiled. "I'm a doctor, and more importantly, I'm your sister. I've noticed small changes, the way you've seemed more at peace lately. I found a long brown hair on one of my makeup brushes last month." "I'm sorry. I should have asked." "No apologies. Just promise me one thing. I get to help you shop for your new wardrobe. You've always had terrible fashion sense." Relief coursed through Willa's body, releasing tension she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. The following weekend, Catherine kept her promise. They spent Saturday at the mall, Catherine's medical precision finding expression in the methodical way she helped Willa build a foundational wardrobe. "Every woman needs a perfect black dress," Catherine insisted, pulling one from the rack. "And with your height, you're going to look incredible in it." In the dressing room, Willa slipped into the dress, smooth fabric falling perfectly from shoulders to just above the knees. Her brown hair, grown out slightly over the months, framed her face softly. The person in the mirror was becoming more recognizable every day. Catherine whistled when Willa emerged. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. The apartment search succeeded the following month, a one-bedroom in a diverse neighborhood across town. Willa gave notice at her accounting firm, planning to start at a new company where she could begin as herself from day one. Moving day arrived with Catherine and 2 of her doctor friends helping load the truck. Willa wore jeans and a simple cream-colored blouse, her growing brown hair pulled back in a small ponytail. The navy shirts and khakis were donated, no longer needed for the daily disguise. "Call me when you're settled," Catherine said, hugging her tightly as they stood outside the new apartment building. "And don't forget Sunday dinner. Every week." "I wouldn't miss it," Willa promised. The new apartment became a sanctuary. Each decoration, each furniture arrangement was a conscious choice, the first home that truly reflected who she was. Photos in frames showed the emerging Willa, brown hair growing longer in each image, smile becoming more genuine. The new job at Reynolds Accounting welcomed Willa Harrison without hesitation. Her credentials spoke for themselves, and the HR department handled her documentation professionally and respectfully. "Your desk is over here," her new supervisor, Diane, explained on the first day. "We typically do team lunch on Wednesdays, but it's completely optional." Willa smoothed her black pencil skirt, the one Catherine had helped her select, and adjusted the teal blouse with pearl buttons that had been part of her first secret purchase. "I'd love to join for lunch," she replied. The routine of open, authentic living grew more comfortable each day. Therapy continued, providing support through the challenges of transition. Hormone therapy began, bringing subtle changes that aligned her physical self more closely with her true identity. 6 months into living openly as Willa, she received an invitation to her cousin's wedding. The RSVP card still read Reed Harrison, a reminder that not everyone knew yet. The extended family remained unaware of her transition. "Are you going to go?" Catherine asked during their Sunday dinner. Willa twirled pasta around her fork, considering. "I should. It's important to be there for Marcus." "I'll be right beside you," Catherine promised. The wedding was scheduled for June, 8 months into Willa's new life. By then, her brown hair reached past her shoulders. Hormone therapy had softened her features, and voice training had adjusted her speech patterns. The person Reed had pretended to be receded further into memory with each passing day. The perfect attire for the occasion became an obsession. Finally, Willa found it. A deep blue dress with small white flowers scattered across the fabric. Not polka dots, but a subtle homage to the dress that had started everything. The day of the wedding dawned bright and clear. Willa stood before her mirror, applying makeup with the skill acquired through months of practice. The blue dress fit perfectly, complementing her figure. Catherine arrived to drive them together, offering moral support through approving glances. "You look beautiful," she said simply. "Ready to do this?" Willa nodded, gathering her small clutch purse. "As ready as I'll ever be." The ceremony took place in a garden, rows of white chairs arranged before a flower-covered arch. Willa and Catherine slipped into seats near the back, drawing curious glances from relatives who recognized Catherine but couldn't quite place her companion. After Marcus and his bride exchanged vows, the reception began in a tent filled with round tables and twinkling lights. Willa took a deep breath and approached her aunt and uncle. "Congratulations," she said to Marcus's parents. "The ceremony was beautiful." Aunt Helen squinted, studying her face. "I'm sorry, are you a friend of the bride?" Catherine appeared at Willa's side. "Mom, this is Willa, my sister." Understanding dawned slowly on Helen's face, followed by confusion. "Your sister?" "Yes," Willa confirmed, heart pounding. "We haven't seen each other since I transitioned. I used to be Reed." The silence stretched uncomfortably. Uncle Robert's expression hardened, while Helen's eyes widened with shock. "I don't understand," Helen finally said.
"I think it's quite clear,"
Robert interjected, voice cold.
"Perhaps this isn't the appropriate venue for this discussion."
Catherine's arm slipped protectively around Willa's waist. "We came to celebrate Marcus's marriage. Willa is family, same as always." Before the situation could escalate, Marcus himself appeared, champagne in hand.
"Willa!"
he exclaimed, embracing her.
"You made it! You look amazing! That blue really suits you!"
The tension fractured slightly. "You knew?" Helen asked her son.
"Of course,"
Marcus replied easily.
"We've been emailing for months. Come on, I want to introduce you to Irene's college friends."
With a reassuring wink at Willa, Marcus guided her away from his parents and toward a table of young people. Catherine followed, pride evident in her stance. The evening progressed with a mixture of awkward encounters and surprising moments of acceptance. Cousin Eliza complimented Willa's dress, asking where she'd found it. Uncle James, after 3 whiskeys, declared it made no difference to him. Family was family. Aunt Helen maintained a polite distance, clearly processing. "Are you okay?" Catherine asked, as they waited for the valet to bring their car at the end of the night. Willa gazed up at the stars, visible beyond the venue's lights. "Actually, yes. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. No more hiding." The encounter with extended family was another milestone in a journey filled with them. Each day brought Willa closer to the complete alignment of her inner and outer selves. The anniversary of that first afternoon with the polka dot dress approached. 1 year of authenticity. To mark the occasion, Willa invited Catherine to dinner at her apartment. "I have something for you," she said after they'd finished eating. Willa disappeared into her bedroom, returning with a gift bag. Catherine pulled aside the tissue paper and lifted out a carefully folded blue summer dress with white polka dots, identical to the one that had started everything. "I found it online," Willa explained. "The same brand, same pattern." Catherine's eyes glistened. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because, without your dress, without you, I might never have found the courage to become myself. It belongs with you." Catherine held the dress to her chest. "I have something for you, too." She reached into her purse, extracting a small velvet box. "I was going to save this for your actual birthday, but this seems right." Inside the box lay a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant, the constellation Lyra. "It represents transformation," Catherine explained. "And music. I thought you might appreciate both meanings." Willa fastened the necklace around her neck, the pendant cool against her skin. "It's perfect." 2 years into her life as Willa, she received an opportunity to relocate for work, a promotion that would take her to Denver. The decision wasn't easy, but the challenge called to her. "I'll visit all the time," Catherine promised as they packed Willa's apartment. "And you'll be back for holidays." "I know. It's just, you've been my rock through all of this." Catherine paused, holding a framed photo of the 2 of them at Marcus's wedding. "You never needed a rock. You just needed someone to witness your strength." The move to Denver opened new chapters. Willa's professional reputation grew, her social circle expanded, and 2 years after relocating, she met Michael at a client appreciation dinner. "The woman in the spectacular blue dress," he said, approaching her with 2 glasses of sparkling water. "I noticed you don't seem to be drinking alcohol either." Willa accepted the offered glass. "Designated driver tonight. My colleague has already had 3 martinis." Michael laughed, the sound warming something in Willa's chest. Same reason here. I'm Michael Chen, by the way. Willa Harrison. Their conversation flowed easily, touching on books they'd both read, hiking trails around Denver, and their shared love of classical music. When Michael asked for her number at the end of the evening, Willa hesitated only briefly. Dating as a transgender woman presented unique considerations. Willa had learned to be forthright early in relationships, protecting herself from potential negative reactions. After their second date, a Sunday afternoon at the Botanical Gardens, she invited Michael for coffee.
"There's something I should tell you,"
she began, hands wrapped around her mug. "I'm transgender. I transitioned 5 years ago." Michael's expression remained open, thoughtful. "Thank you for trusting me with that. Does it change anything about tonight?" The simplicity of his response caught her off guard. "No, I suppose it doesn't." "Good, because I was hoping you might join me for the symphony next weekend. They're performing Tchaikovsky." Their relationship developed with refreshing honesty. Michael listened to Willa's stories, the blue polka dot dress, Catherine's unwavering support, the wedding confrontation, with genuine interest. She met his parents over a virtual dinner, charming them with her knowledge of Chinese cuisine learned through Catherine's doctor friend from medical school. "My mother wants your recipe for that eggplant dish," Michael reported after a subsequent call with his family. Willa laughed, brown hair falling across her face as she stirred sauce on the stove. "Tell her it's all about the black vinegar. You can't substitute." A year into their relationship, during a weekend trip to the mountains, Michael proposed at sunset on a secluded overlook.
"You are the most authentic person I've ever known,"
he said, kneeling before her.
"Every day with you feels honest and real. Will you marry me?"
The ring he offered gleamed in the fading light, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds.
"Blue has always been your color,"
he explained nervously when she didn't immediately respond. Willa pulled him to his feet, tears blurring her vision. "Yes, absolutely yes." The wedding planning brought Catherine flying in from across the country monthly, determined to be involved despite the distance. "Have you thought about your dress?" she asked during one such visit. Willa's fingers found the Lara pendant she still wore daily. "Actually, I have." The design she'd sketched incorporated elements that honored her journey, flowing like that first polka dot dress, with subtle details that represented transformation and becoming. The seamstress created exactly what she envisioned, a blue gown with fabric that seemed to ripple like water with every movement. "No white wedding dress?" Michael's mother asked during a planning session.
"Blue has special significance for us,"
Michael explained, squeezing Willa's hand. The wedding took place in a mountain lodge, windows overlooking snow-covered peaks. Willa stood before the mirror in the bridal suite, Catherine adjusting the constellation pendant to rest perfectly at her collarbone. "I almost can't believe this is real," Willa whispered. Catherine met her eyes in the reflection. "I can. From the moment you told me your truth, I knew you were heading toward happiness. You just had to become fully yourself first." A knock at the door announced it was time. Catherine straightened the flowing blue fabric one last time, ensuring it fell perfectly. "Ready?" Willa nodded, gathering the small bouquet of white flowers. "Ready." The ceremony unfolded in a room filled with people who knew and loved Willa exactly as she was. Aunt Helen sat beside Uncle Robert, both having grown into acceptance over the years. Colleagues from both Denver and her previous job applauded as she entered. Michael waited at the altar, eyes never leaving hers as she approached. "We gather to celebrate two people who have found their authentic selves, and in doing so, found each other," the officiant began. Willa's thoughts briefly traveled back to that afternoon years ago, standing before a mirror in a borrowed blue dress with white polka dots, hearing her true name for the first time. The journey from that moment to this one stretched through difficult conversations, medical appointments, legal name changes, and countless small daily acts of courage. Willa," she spoke clearly when the time came. "Take you, Michael." The words sealed a promise not just to him, but to herself, to continue living openly, honestly, courageously. The blue dress moved like water around her as they shared their first dance as married couple, brown hair catching the light as Michael spun her beneath crystal chandeliers. Later that night, Catherine offered a toast. "To my sister Willa, who taught me that becoming yourself is the greatest act of bravery, and to Michael, who recognized her beautiful spirit immediately." The years that followed brought new challenges and joys. Willa's career continued to flourish. She and Michael bought a house with a garden where they spent weekend mornings drinking coffee and reading. They traveled to China to meet his extended family, to Europe to celebrate their 5th anniversary. On her 40th birthday, Willa stood before her closet, considering what to wear for the small gathering of friends coming that evening. Her hand reached automatically for blue, a simple dress with subtle white embroidery, professional success, loving marriage, supportive family, all built on the foundation of that first moment of recognition. The doorbell rang downstairs. Catherine had flown in for the celebration, now a respected surgical chief with less time for visits than in earlier years. "Coming!" Willa called, fastening the lyra pendant around her neck. The mirror reflected a woman comfortable in her skin, brown hair now styled in a sophisticated bob, eyes clear and confident. Later that evening, as friends gathered in their backyard beneath string lights, Catherine pulled Willa aside. "I have something to show you," she said, scrolling through her phone. "I found this while cleaning out Mom's house after she moved to the retirement community." The photo showed a family picnic from decades earlier. Their parents, Catherine as a teenager, and a small child of perhaps 4 years old, wearing a blue blanket tied around shoulders like a cape, brown hair tousled by wind. Mom labeled it, "Reed Playing Dress Up, Summer 1987. I thought you might want to have it." Willa studied the image, recognizing her younger self in the joyful expression, the way the makeshift cape was arranged, just so. "We always know ourselves," she said softly. "Sometimes it just takes time to find the language, the courage. And sometimes it takes a blue dress with polka dots," Catherine added, squeezing her hand. Willa laughed, the sound carrying across the yard to where Michael was arranging birthday candles. He looked up, catching her eye, smiling in response to her joy. "To finding ourselves," Willa said, raising her glass in a private toast with her sister. "And to becoming who we've always been," Catherine replied. The evening continued around them, friends laughing, music playing, the scent of garden flowers filling the air. Willa moved through her birthday celebration, wrapped in the blue dress that honored her journey, surrounded by people who loved her completely. The path hadn't always been straight or easy, but standing in the warm light of her own authentic life, Willa knew every step had been necessary, leading her home to herself.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!